Welcome to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
Up there on the second shelf is Grace Unknown by R.C. Sproul.
Oh, yes.
And, man, you know, if there was a theologian that I could have the opportunity to meet that was alive in my lifetime, it'd be R.C. Sproul. Very, very instrumental.
Yeah.
You know, when we moved to Nashville in 2014, we were going to Refuge Church in Mount Juliet. It was a very small church and had just been a recent plant.
Yeah.
And the pastor there, Daniel, I remember talking to him the first time, and we were at Cracker Barrel in Mount Juliet. And of course, we didn't know anyone in Nashville, and we'd come down for a week a few months prior before we moved and made sure that during the week we were going to catch 2 weekends. So we visited as many churches as possible. And we just liked the way they were doing ministry there. We liked the way they seemed to be focused on expository preaching, and we were just drawn to how their MO and everything of the church. And however, I was warned. You know, I grew up being warned about those Calvinists.
That's
You
right.
got to stay away from those Calvinists. Those Calvinists are, you know, they're nutty guys. You know, it's some crazy stuff they're into. And so I guess I never took I guess I always kind of took their word for it, to be honest. Like I never
Right.
kind of dug into it myself.
Right.
So I was okay, you know, staying away from those crazy Calvinists. And so
Until you meet one.
Until you meet one. So
Right.
we moved to Nashville, started attending this church, which was Reformed. And the pastor Daniel, you know, he was very patient, very gracious. And so I remember being at Cracker Barrel one time with him, and I was just like, all right, well here, you know, we like the fruit, but we disagree with the root.
Right.
And so you know, we're like, all right, we'd love to actually, you know, if you'll have us, we'd love to attend your church and be a part of it, and even become a member, and on all of these types of things, but. You know, I just want you to know on the outset that I disagree with the Calvinist thing.
Right.
And so, you know, he was very patient, and I started to learn more about what this is, you know, because I didn't really know what they believe. I just knew to stay away from those doggone Calvinists.
Right.
And it was about a year. It was about a year journey, and reading Knowledge of the Holy. Is that the book? Knowledge of the Holy?
Yes.
Yeah, Knowledge of the Holy by A.W. Tozer, but Grace Unknown by R.C. Sproul. That was very instrumental. And of course, reading the scripture and trying to make some of those verses go away. Trying to explain, you know, I was coming up for, look, I didn't particularly care to change my viewpoint on some of these things. I was 30 years old. Like
Right.
I knew all this stuff. I don't, you know, and so I'm battling it pretty hard at this point. And, you know, I can't seem to make it go away, basically, and started reading Grace Unknown by R.C. Sproul. Oh, man. You know, I get teary-eyed just talking about it now because, you know, R.C. was instrumental with helping me to see that there is man-centered theology and there's God-centered theology. Now, this doesn't make really any sense in the Christian religion to have a man-centered theology. Like
Right.
that's not, you can't tell me that exists, but it does exist.
It does
And
exist. Amen.
so reading that book and just, and I'm not saying that a Arminian theology is man-centered, but there are theologies that are man-centered, and there's ways of doing things, there's mindsets, there's philosophies, there's thought processes that are extremely man-centered in the Christian religion,
Right.
which, you know, it's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, you know, reading that book was very instrumental. And July 26, 2015, took about a year and a couple of months. My wife and I were on the back patio at a condo in Florida. We were on vacation. I was smoking a cigar, and she looked at me and said, I think we believe this now. And she said it first. I was like, yeah, we do. And so I guess that opened up, for me, it was like seeing around a corner I'd never seen before.
Right.
It opened up this whole view of God that I was not familiar with. And it really kind of wrecked my life, man. It really
man.
changed me.
Yeah.
A Christian before,
Yeah.
and have lots of friends, all my family that would disagree with me on some of these viewpoints.
Sure.
I'm totally fine with that. Most of them much better believers than I, but that particular view of God, seemed to make sense with what the Scripture was saying, and it was very, very helpful. I was very eager to learn more about that God.